All right, everybody, so let's jump right into week one of our content. And as you probably have noticed, as you scanned through the curriculum, we've got a lot of info coming your way. So let's jump right into it since we've only got 7 weeks to learn everything you need to know about being a social worker. First things first, take a look at the top right corner of your screen there. You should be able to see like an image or a place about your profile. I'm gonna ask you to create your online identity. So go ahead and upload a photo of you, and Olu asked that the photo is professional. Professional doesn't mean you have to like wear something formal with a tie. No, just whatever you'd wear to your internship site. Like that's professional. I know in mine, like it sure has a jacket, it's a blazer, but there's like no tie, none of that stuff. And then while speaking to professionalism, just briefly touching on professional decorum. So when you're addressing people within the field, it's considered professional to speak to them with a title that's in their email or in the syllabus or something like that. So someone with a doctorate, you'd call them doctor or professor, instructor, things of that nature. We're not going to, reach out to people by their first names unless given permission to do so by whomever you're speaking with. That being said, please just call me Cam. I don't have a doctorate as of yet, so I wouldn't be called anyway, but Cam's fine. I've never been a fan of titles anyway. Speaking to ourselves, I'm going to ask that you formally introduce yourself in the VoiceThread software within the course. And so just in this video, I'm just going to ask a 46-minute video on who are you? And that could be, tell me about your friends, your family, your hobbies, where you're from, where do you want to go, what's a special, whatever it is. But the things I'm really curious about is why social work? As you know, this is a unique profession, and why did you choose this one? Why did you choose it now versus maybe before, or putting off until down the road? What kind of work do you do right now? What kind of work do you want to do in the future? Please keep in mind that these videos are due by Tuesday at 11:59, so midnight. And then responses to your peers are due Friday at that same time. Any questions about using VoiceThread or anything like that, just let me know. I'll try to walk you through that stuff. I know it can be a little weird at first. You'll see that there's the APA quiz. You're gonna need to get an 80% to pass it. You're gonna get more than one chance. So just read through it, take the test, and just get some of the information that you need to know. APA is incredibly important. Hopefully you have the opportunity to use APA in your undergrad, but do know that any sort of psychological, field of study, research, whatever it is, you're going to use APA. And so this will be something to familiarize yourself throughout the entirety of your master's degree. And if you choose to pursue a PhD, congratulations, APA is not going anywhere. So shifting gears before that, little sip of tea. Because I've been up all night doing my own homework for school. What is a social worker? And so I just want you just to chew on that for a moment. What does your mind come up with when I ask you, what is a social worker? It might be an image, some behaviors, what have you. A social worker is someone who has integrity and emphasizes ethics and professionalism. Social workers are unique to other professions because I believe they have a really strong sense of identity or a sense of self. That doesn't just mean like the things that we're interested in, what's fun, the food we like. Like sure, that's important, but what really makes us tick? In the supervision that I do, when you're working with patients, I'll ask like the social workers, or I'll inform them that working with other people is almost like holding up a mirror. You learn just as much about yourself as you do other people when you're in practice. In addition to that, learning what your privileges are, what you came up with, your resources or lack thereof. I can confidently state that I am a man who is privileged, and understanding that I have privilege and I've learned some things that weren't earned and I didn't have to fight as hard as some of my peers have. Recognizing my privilege is incredibly important, and doing my part to advocate for social justice is incredibly important. Social workers are critical thinkers. They, especially in regards to practice. It doesn't mean criticizing, it's more just really understanding how behaviors are happening, learning to really connect the dots. We're lifelong learners. This is an evolving profession. And again, learning about yourself as we develop. We engage in evidence-based practice. Like I mentioned in my last video, I engage in EMDR, CPT, acceptance and commitment therapy, DBT, motivational interviewing. We'll talk a little bit about that. We're using evidence-based practice. And then as compared to other counseling professions, social workers are what we call systems focused. So we don't operate on the impression that a person's behavior can be taken for face value. A person's behavior is influenced by the world they grew up in, the experiences that they went through, the resources that they had or they didn't have, the communities that they have or didn't have, the families they had or didn't have. Within an entire system, country, cities, religions, all these systems trickle down and they influence the person. That's what makes social workers unique, because we're not just interacting with the person, we're advocating and trying to treat groups, families, communities, and the individual. Hey, it's the name of our course. That's where social workers, again, very unique. So that brings me to the more formal part of what we call this. We call this ecological systems perspective. And so, like I mentioned, you're going to take an individual. They have their genetics that they came into this world with. Then think about the world they grew up in, their home, their caregivers. What school did they go to or didn't? What was their neighborhood? Who were their peers? What did they do after school? What were their siblings like? Did they have siblings? Outside of that, who were their teachers? What institutions were they a part of? What kind of governments did they fall into? What were the friends of their parents? What kind of jobs did their parents have or not have? Did they even have caregivers? Were they in a foster system? Who knows? Outside of that, what kind of media were they exposed to? We talk about all the time. What is social media telling people? What are the, stretching outside of that even more, what are the social rules, the social norms? What is the culture, the political system? What kind of nation they are part of? What does the economics look like? What about welfare, money, legal system? You can just see how all of this impacts one person. That is ecological systems theory. So social workers do not blame the person for behavior. We believe we're a product of our environment. And I strongly do believe that. So context is incredibly important. And when you're going through your practice, not only are we trying to assess for behavior, come up with a diagnosis, all that stuff's really important. But how is that influenced? Where did that come from? Really being able to critically analyze how this developed. So, threw a lot of information your way. That being said, any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. We're going to dive way more into this stuff in the content throughout the week. If you got questions for me, you can email me, but I am going to ask that you put it in the Ask the Instructor section, because if you've got a question, odds are some of your peers do as well. So throw that in there. Peers, if they've got some answers, please throw that stuff in there. Have a discussion. Just like my two mountains metaphor, we're all experts in our own mountain. And so I believe that, like, every one of us brings something to the table. So help each other out, assist each other, give me information, criticize the stuff that I'm teaching, because again, I'm on my own mountain. So please enjoy this week and catch you later.